Mr. Minogue tore down the Haymarket streets, and though his reception was fuzzy, music blared from his radio. He didn't hear it, lost in thought. Cravings filled his mind. He took a lollipop from the console and held it between his teeth. They helped with his withdrawal and kept his hands and mouth occupied, just as a cigarette would. Didn't help that much though, and his head still stung, ringing like a bell. A little too fast, he took a hard right, and the setting sun stared straight at him through the windshield. As he held out his hand and covered the terrible light as best he could, a kangaroo ran out to the middle of the road. He swerved and clipped the beast's tail, then crashed into the barrow pit. He didn't think about much in those last few moments. He thought about slowing down. He died immediately upon impact. The next morning, Mia Collette pulled to a stop outside the Sydney courthouse. For a long time, she sat in the car, running a plan in her head again and again. She pulled a cigarette from the top left corner of her pack and examined it until she found the needle mark in its filter, where, like an eager sponge, the cigarette had lapped up a syringe full of cyanide. She slid it back into place and grabbed another, this one from the bottom right. She lit it, grabbed a manila folder, and went inside. Marching straight past the secretary's desk, she made her way to the county treasurer's office and pounded on the door. No answer. She mumbled under her breath, both sides of a conversation. Kind of a weird flavor, don't you think? What, you've never had a narcoleptic cigarette before? Yeah, but what if he has, though? Shit. She knocked again. Do you have business here? The secretary asked. I have a 10 o'clock with the treasurer. Mr. Minogue? Yes, him. Mr. Minogue died in a car crash last night. Mia turned away from the door. What? Mm-hmm. So you'll have to reschedule when the new treasurer gets to town. Several blocks away at the Torres residence, little Zoe enjoyed her 9th birthday party when the phone rang. Mr. Torres answered. Hey, it's Tony. Mia spoke from the other end of the line. It's me. We need to talk. What, now? I'm at my daughter's birthday party. Yes, now. Remember Mr. Minogue? Yeah, of course I do. Well, he's already dead. Meet me at the cafe on 5th. About 20 minutes later, Mr. Torres waltzed through the front entrance of Z&Z's Imperial Cafe on 5th, and took a seat across from Mia, who tapped the table nervously with a roll of newspaper. 2 coffees were waiting at the table. His was cold. Look at this, she said as she unfurled an obituary page. Mr. Minogue, car accident, swerved off the road yesterday evening. Wow, would you look at that? Guess we hired you a day too early, huh? Mia laughed nervously as Torres read through the article. Yeah, I guess so. She paused to let him finish. But we're still good, right? She asked a moment later. Yeah, of course we are. Why wouldn't we be? No reason, I guess. Just figured I'd check is all. Mia took a cigarette from the bottom right-hand corner of her pack and lit up. Hey, mind if I had one? Mr. Torres asked with an outstretched hand. Yeah, sure. She grabbed a second, also from the bottom right corner, and passed it over. Torres took a deep breath as he lit the end of the tab, then, through a thick cloud of smoke, he spoke once again. We are going to have to talk about the money situation, though. Yeah, I was just about to ask. When do I get the other half? About that. I spoke briefly with my financial advisor, he was over at the party, and him and I are in agreement. Since you didn't actually kill the man, we're gonna have to ask you to return our initial payment. Return? Yes, I'm afraid so. You paid me to make sure this man was dead by the end of the month. Keep your voice down. Well, I did my due diligence, and sure enough, the dude's definitely dead. But it wasn't you that dealt with him, which is what we agreed upon. Why should I be penalized for another man's reckless driving? Why should we be expected to pay for an act of God? Because we made a deal. Mia slammed her fist against the table as they fell into a brief silence. The waitress peered over a word search across the empty diner. Besides, I already spent some of the money. How'd you spend £1,500 in 2 days? I didn't say all of it. I said some of it. Spent it on research for the equipment I need for the job, and you know what? I bought some groceries with it too, because I wasn't expecting to have to pay you back. Torres sighed. Alright, so you spent what? £100 maybe? Something like that, yeah. Well, as a show of good faith, pay us back $1,200 and we'll call it even. That's not even by a damn sight. Torres gestured dismissively and took another drag of a cigarette. Mia tapped her fingers nervously against the table and thought a moment before she continued. You know about my crew in Auckland, don't you? Of course I do. But a bunch of Kiwi prison hitters aren't going to help you out here on the street. I'm running a business here. Surely you can understand that. With one last breath of solidaire, he dashed the cigarette against the tableside ashtray. Mia glanced down to the burnt-out tab and back to Mr. Torres. She retrieved her pack and grabbed one from the top left corner, running her thumb along the filter until she found the needlepoint prick. Yeah, okay, fine. I get it. I don't like it, but yes, I see where you're coming from. And I'm not asking for a key to the castle here, just a little compensation. So how about I keep the 1,000 and I give you back the 5? Torres mulled it over. You can keep the 5, but give us the grand. Is that acceptable? I'll have to think about it. There's nothing to think about, Mia. That's what's gonna happen. Well, it's just... She droned off for a moment, then pretended to have just noticed that Taurus's cigarette was out. "Oh, I'm sorry, did you need another?" she asked as she held the poison tab out toward him. "No, I'm fine." Mia sighed deeply, exasperated. She slid the tab back into the top left corner of her pack as Taurus rambled on. "Look, Mia, you're a very talented contractor. I'm sure we'll have work for you in the future, but for now, my business is in a very precarious situation, at least until he sees Mr. Minogue's old territory. So give me back my money, or else I'll truly have no use for you." "I'll think about it." Mia stood and left the table. Mr. Taurus sighed and watched her leave. Out in the parking lot, Mia smacked her steering wheel with the brunt of her fist. God damn it! Should have gave him the goddamn cyanide. How in the hell was I supposed to know? Back inside, Taurus calmly made his way to the nearest payphone and placed a call. "Hey, Butch." "Yeah, it's Tony. Just had a meeting with Mia Collette. Remember her?" "The contractor, yeah." "Well, I just talked with her, and I've got a feeling she's gonna make a run on her assets." "Yeah." "Yep." "Well, you know what to do. Just handle her." He returned to his table and checked the bill. 75 cents for 2 black coffees. He left a 5 and told the waitress to keep the change.